Okay, you're very welcome back to the Rossie Podcast in association with Shannonside FM. We're back after a break since Roscommon exited the championship to Cork, what must have been 5 or 6 weeks ago at this stage, and we're looking ahead to the club championship. It comes along quick. We're just after the All-Ireland final, another All-Ireland football title for Kerry, so normal business on that front. I'm joined this week by Shannonside FM Roscommon commentator Willie Hegarty, and we're going to run through as best we can the senior, intermediate, and junior championships in Roscommon. Willie, you're welcome as always. Looking forward to a good weekend of football, hopefully.
Absolutely delighted to be on the podcast, Darragh. And yeah, I mean, look at when Roscommon exited championship, as you said, it seemed it was well down the road, the club championships, but nice and quietly it has sneaked up. And as you know, as has been the way the last couple of years, August bank holiday weekend has always been the start. The Galway race has finished, so the steeplechase here at Roscommon commences this weekend in the three championships. And I suppose, you know, we've had the break and now we're looking forward to the next couple of months.
Absolutely, and it'll come thick and fast. Look, we'll get straight into it. There's no point wasting too much time because there's a lot to get through. We'll start with the senior championship, and I'll run through the groups. Might touch on each group first. So, Group A probably in some ways looks the toughest on paper. You've Porrick Pierces, you've St. Folius, you've Clonagale, and St. Dominic's. So, Willie, out of those teams there, Pierces are the reigning champions, so they'll be looking to retain their crown. Clonagale are always, sometimes you actually don't know what you're going to get from Clonagale in the championship. They could be excellent or maybe, you know, off colour. And look, St. Folius have the Merces, so they're always in with a chance in any game. So how are you looking at that group first off?
Yeah, very, very intriguing group. I mean, over the last couple of years, Clonagale have been excellent in the group stages. They always seem to win all the group games, and then they've yet to win a quarter final. So, you know, you mentioned there, you know, they're a mystery. Last year, the Cork Pierces cold. I was at the game in Johnstown, couple of late goals, drama and injury time, and then Pierces came through to win the championship. So you'd imagine the meeting of Porrick Pierce and Clonagale will decide who finishes top and who gets the straight quarter-final slot. That'll be the key battle there. And then the key battle, I suppose, should be Dominic's and Folius to see. It's hard to see Dominic's and Folius beating either Clan or Porrick Pierces. Even though Folius have Pierces first out in Ballyleague, Dominic's have to go to Clan. So, and then Clan must go to Woodmount. And you know, it's funny. Porrick Pierces have a hold on Bridges, and Clan have a hold on Porrick Pierces. But just you know, so you know, I still think Pierces this year for me, Darragh. I just wonder. I'd say they were glad not to get to the Royal Cup League final, because I'd say nobody wanted to meet Bridges in the league final, because Bridges were going to win the league final. I poor Roscommon Gales for the second year in a row are the ones that you know drew the short straw. So Pierce will be quite happy to have avoided that. They beat Bridges in last year's championship quarter final, and then in the league game this year, the first league game Bridges got was Pierce's, and Pierce put out the best team. Didn't put out a strong team against Clan because if they knew they won, they'd be in the league final. So I think Pierce are happy. But the one thing I have with Pierce this year is, have they got the Collins final defeat out of their system? We won't know until the championship is probably reaches knockout stage. But that Connacht club final defeat last year was the most unlike Porrick Pierce's defeat that you could ever imagine. A team, when Pierce's are 5 points up in you, I mean, you're gooched. And somehow Calera Strandhill, in fairness to them, came back and beat Pierce's. So where is Pierce's mindset? Bridges last year, their mindset never recovered from losing the All-Ireland Club final the year before to Glen, or that year to Glen, and we got caught in the quarter final. So Pierce's, while it wasn't as dramatic as Bridges losing the All-Ireland Club final, they lost a Connacht Club final they should have won. And you know, we'll just have to see where they're at. So look, themselves or Clan, 1 or 2, Pierce at home would mount a Clan, you know, could top the group, but Pierce at Clan in first or second, and then the key game is going to be St. Folius and Dominic's. Folius reached the semi-final last year. Hard to see it repeated, but any ship that leaves the harbour with the Murta brothers on board are always going to be hard to beat. So, you know, Folius, Dominic's, toss of a kind there, Darragh. Dominics looked in horrible trouble at the beginning of the league. Players weren't playing for them. Manager went midstream. They survived in the Euro Cup. If Dominics get everybody together, they could take qualies.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's a 50-50, maybe leaning towards Follies in that way. It's a close one. I think the point I probably make is maybe Follies have it more in them, maybe because of the Merces, to maybe catch a Pierce's or a Clan, where they don't see Dominic's beating Pierce's or Clan. But time will tell. One thing on Pierce's as well, I don't know if you heard, Niall Daly's fitness. Obviously, we didn't see him for the county. He had one outing down in Cork for 5 minutes. He actually scored a boomer a point down in Cork. He looked good that for the 5 minutes we did see him. Any word on his fitness, because he is the heartbeat really of that Pierce's team. He really is an inspirational player for that team.
Yeah, look, I think the word is that Niall will be okay for the club championship. Niall Daly, the Pierce, is Michael Murphy, the Donegal. He really is the engine that drives them. But Pierce have a lot of good young footballers over the last 4 or 5 years. And they're still going to be hard to beat. They'll come out of the group, and look, as I mentioned there, the Galway races coming up, and a race is coming up in the steeplechase. Pierce have never won the Gold Cup back to back. They didn't win the first till 2019, 21, champions again last year. Two Connacht Club final appearances, 1 win. So that the drive for Pierce's is to go back to back. So that's their drive. They'll need everybody on board, but they've got some good players, Darragh, some good young footballers. They'll be a year older. The loss at the Connacht Club final will harden them up. But they're still, Paul Carey, can he do it again? He needs more than last year, I think, from Paul. The Dailies, we know what we get from them. Their second team last year was quite impressive. So Frank Canning, the manager, doesn't take any bull from anybody. He's a man of, he's strong-minded himself. So look, they're going to be there, Darragh, cover up the home straight. The great enigma is Clonagale. Pat Fallon's third year in charge. If Clonagale saw every game as a group game, they'd probably win the county final. But for some reason, they just last year lost the quarter final to St. Foyers. Owen Hanley got married recently in Portugal. He'll want to be back for the championship. But you just couldn't trust Clan, Darragh. Which is funny to say. I mean, the kingpins of Roscommon football right now over the last 3 or 4 years, you just couldn't trust them in a knockout game.
Yep, no, I think that's fair. Looking ahead to Group I was about to say Group 2, Group B. Michael Glavey, St. Bridget's, Western Gales, and Elfin. Look, I think we're both in agreement here. Bridget should top this group comfortably enough. I think that's no disrespect to the other teams. They'd be expected to. They're the hot favourites to win the championship. So you would imagine Bridget should top the group with no real fuss. And then look, it's interesting because all the other 3 teams will be eyeing each other up, and they're all evenly enough matched. Maybe Glavies might see themselves a bit ahead of Western Gales and Elfin because they were really close to even reaching the final last year. They had Roscommon Gales and Big Bother in extra time last year. So I mean, look, touching on Bridges, obviously, we'll touch on Bridges. They are the favourites. Do you see them being bet in this year's championship? Are they the ones to beat, obviously?
Well, the both there. If we were in the podcast this time last year, we'd probably say Bridges won't be bet, and they were bet, and it's quite possible they can get beaten down. Of course, they can get beaten, but there's probably only 1 or 2 teams that'll beat them. If Boyle were set up for a quarter final, if Boyle happened to meet them in a quarter final, potentially, or if Pierce is down the line, I think they're the only 2 teams that can beat them. Bridges are probably vulnerable in the quarter final. I mean, as sure as Donald Trump has put tariffs in every country in the world, Bridges are going to top this group. They're going to sleep the way out of it. Because the other 3 teams in this group will have decided that Bridges is irrelevant. I was at Glavies Bridges last year in Ballinlaw, and it was lambs to the slaughter. I think Glavies almost reached the county final because Glavies' mindset was take a hammering from Bridges, and then we'll go after the next 2 games. Elfin have them first out, the intermediate champions last year. Nigel Dean won't be thinking about Anthony Cunningham. he'll be thinking about Ian Daly, Michael Glavies, and Jared Nolan, Western Gales. This is a three-team group. One of them is going to be in relegation. So at this stage, Darragh, Bridges, they'll win the group by plus 40 or 50 points. And then what will it do for them in a quarter-final if a Clanor Pierces come second and they draw them, or a Boyle Roscommon Gales come second and they draw them? They drew Pearson in the quarter-final last year. On paper, Bridges should win the championship. I think it's 9 of the teams that could start for Bridges would have played league football for Roscommon this year. Ben O'Carroll is gone for the group stages. He's in America. That's irrelevant. But there's pressure on Bridges, Darragh, in my opinion, because they're talked up by everybody to win not only Roscommon but to win Connacht, and that brings pressure in itself. And these young lads, they won the 2020 COVID Championship by playing outstanding football. So they have to prove to themselves this year that they're capable of getting back where they were 2 or 3 years ago. But you asked me the question there: will they be beaten? The chance are they mightn't, but they could be, Darragh. And Pierces could take them out or take out in a quarter final. But they are the team to beat. They're in pole position. They're if it was Alcatraz or Skinner getting set for Wimbledon in the next couple of weeks, they'll be number 1 seed. Glavies had a desperate Roar Cup, relegated. Andy Glennon it won't be with them. But if they have the Heenan contingent on board, Dinner Rowan is playing great football. Glavies will come out of the group, I think. Western Gales, the last number of years, a cat with 9 lives. How they have survived, I don't know. They have marvellous survival instincts down there. Corey Cassidy kept them afloat. Shawnee McDermott, Carl Craig, Kevin Higgins, still playing, Darragh. These are awesome. These are men that are just giving their lifeblood to Western Gales. They probably haven't enough of new blood coming on stream the last number of years. They have this year. I think Glavies and Western Gales' first day out is huge. Whoever wins it will probably feel they're safe. It's in Nash Park again. I was down last year. It was a cracker on a Saturday evening. Glavies won it by a point. I think the two will come out of the group, Darragh. I think Elphin could be the one to finish bottom. Niall Higgins is a horrid loss for Elphin. You can't replace a footballer of that quality in the club senior championship. And also, Finton and Frankie Craig, they've been going to the well so often for Elphin. It's hard to see Elphin scoring enough to survive, Darragh. I know that my co-pilot, Nigel Janine, probably won't talk to me for a while when I say this. I think Elphin will finish bottom of that group, Darragh. It could be a picture and no sound from Nigel himself get together in the championship later on. But Glavies, Western Gales, a toss-up. Who finished second or third? Bridges first. Toss a coin, Glavies or Western Gales finish second. If Glavies have everybody on board, but the morale is shattered because of the Roar Cup. They had a terrible Roar Cup. Terrible. So Western Gales could catch Glavies, but the two of them will come out for Bridges. And then I think Elphin could be the one of the 3 that will be sitting over the relegation trapdoor.
Yeah, I think I go along with that. I think Elphin probably just, and you mentioned Niall Higgins there. He again. I was on about Niall Daly earlier. Like Niall Higgins, the engine. From midfield last year, it's very hard to replace a player like that. So I think I go along with you there. Looking at the last group as well: Roscommon Gales, Castlereagh St Kevin's, Boyle, and Oran. Interesting as well. Like Roscommon Gales on paper. I suppose, like, if you Boyle as well, like Eamon O'Hara's with Boyle, you do forget that. Roscommon Gales, I suppose, you look what they've done. They've been in the last 2 league finals. They were in the county final last year. So you'd have to put on that form alone, you'd have to probably put them nearly favourites to top the group. Mark Dowd is in his 2nd year as well, so they're probably tipping along nicely. But like Boyle is one of those that it's nearly getting to the stage now or never territory soon enough. It feels like Boyle need to really grasp these years with, I suppose everyone says Enda and Doney, and you have Keane McKeown there, you have Darragh Craig there, that like they have nearly the common forward line in some ways. So how do you see this group shaping up? Because, there should be evenly matched games across this group.
Yeah, number one, I slightly disagree with you there. I think that Boyle are going to be my wild card for the championship. Now, you come back to me, championship is over. You were saying, remember what you said at the beginning of the championship, Willie? You know what I mean? It wasn't April Fool's Day, but to tip Boyle to be a wild card. I just think sometimes Keith Smith did a great job with Boyle. Brilliant job. They were
Yeah,
so lucky not to win the county championship. They probably had two bites of cherry. I suppose the one with Stokestown will haunt them for long time. John
yeah,
Rogers, Stokestown came and absolutely stole their thunder. So, will you ever get a better chance? I don't know. But I think Eamon O'Hara coming in did a great job with Mohill with limited resources. I think Boyle will be a better outfit than Mohill. And I think sometimes that can reinnovate and reinvent players. And he's got a good crop of players. Now, the one thing I suppose he'll look at is defence. That defence for Boyle hasn't changed over the last number of years. And, I remember, 2010, Sean Purcell was, what a warrior for Roscommon. That's 15 years ago. And he could still be sent back on the Boyle team. And there's a few defenders there. So if O'Hara can, which I think he will, do a good job in the Boyle defence, there's no doubt from midfield up, Boyle are powerful. Darragh Craig, like Ben O'Carroll, is in down Trump country. So they will be back probably later on. The Gales you mentioned, yeah. You know, surprised to get the county final last year, maybe. Two Euro Cup League finals. Mark Healy is missing this year. I'm reliably informed. He's a fierce loss. This is a
yeah,
group, Darragh, where Orden, don't forget Orden.
yeah,
Since they came up, are a great group stage team. But like Clonagale, they fought at every Beaches Brook. Second time round in the quarter final under Pat Regan. Mark Dowd, steady, reliable, durable manager. The game Friday night, I'm actually going to for Shannonside. Boyle and Roscommon Gale, looking forward to it. It's a key game. Whoever wins will probably top the group, which is vital to get them maybe to a semi-final. The loser, just say the loser, could draw Bridges quarter final. Just at the moment, we don't know. So they're going to finish first or second, and then you have to meet Northern and Castlereagh on Sunday. It's huge because the winner there will probably have taken a huge step forward of coming out of this group. So you can't afford too many slips up in a group like this. Then you have Warden Roscommon Gales coming. They drew last year, so this is a sticky little group.
yeah,
But yeah, look, put him in neck on the line. Um, my prediction could be in the Muckcape on Saturday morning if Roscommon Gales goes and win in Boyle. So I'm putting
mm,
faith and a bit of trust in Eamon O'Hara because he's a new manager, freshness. They beat Bridges a few weeks back, and my contacts tell me they're flying it in training. And O'Hara has the new rules off to a T, and that Boyle are really relishing them. But we won't know until it starts on Friday night. And the Gales have beaten Boyle twice in the last couple of years, Darragh. They were down 2 years ago and absolutely built them a few years back below on Boyle. I think it was 6 goals they were past them or something. And they
yeah,
beat them last in the quarter final. But King Smith's Boyle last year were flash. They never took off. So I'm expecting Boyle to put on a show Friday night, get the better of the Gales. That's a big call, but I'm going to make it. And I still think Boyle, Gales, Orden, my top three, and Castlereagh to be requiring snookers to stay in the championship. But Darragh Brune and Castlereagh, I just think I can't see them finishing above them three teams, Darragh, who have strong experience. So Castlereagh to require snookers like Elfin and probably Domlis would be
yeah.
probably my three that might need snookers. Even though Domlis spoils, ask 10 people, there could be equally divided 5 all how that goes. But I think Castlereagh could struggle to get points on the board against Orden, Boyle, and Roscommon Gales. Boyle first to Gales, second Orden, third. Look at Darragh. That's my Tupplesworth.
Yeah, well, I think Dominic Elfin, Castlereagh are the three that I had marked on
Mm.
my sheet. So we're in agreement there. But I think Castlereagh have the potential to be a sticky outfit. I think they could cause problems maybe I think they'll be looking at the Oran game maybe, that if they could topple Oran. Because Oran, as you said, look, Oran are a very good group stage team. I think for Oran, they should get out of the group. It's the next step. Can they get to a semi-final? Then that'll be the big thing for them. So overall, just before we leave the senior championship, so I mean, look, we'll be both boring. I'll say St. Bridget's are the favourites, but will Boyle be the team that you be thinking could match Bridges. Well, not match them, but be the challenger.
I think, yeah. Look, you had fancy Bridges, but I rarely, to go in again. Look at it. For me, Darragh, Bridges are probably number one seed. I'd probably Pierce's, if they can get their zip back from last year, would probably see two. I think Boyle are my wild card. I think if they beat, I think Boyle, if they beat Roscommon Gales, potentially could get to a semi-final if they were at the top of their group. And then after that, then Roscommon Gales, Clan, Orden, one from them three will probably make the other semi-final berth if they all avoid each other in the quarter-final. But last year, of course, we had Pierce's or Bridges in the quarter-final, and the loser, Roscommon Gales and Boyle, wouldn't probably want to meet Bridges in the quarter-final. Bridges favourites, but I tell you one thing, Pierce's, if they get them in a knockout game in a headlock, will test them, and Boyle is my wild card.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we've seen last year with Bridges, when I said we were probably in a similar position last year. Everyone thought Bridges won it, and Pierce has caught them out. So let's see what happens in the senior championship. Moving on quickly, we'll take a run through the intermediate. Group A, Éire Óg, Pierce's B, Fjorty and Kilmore. I would be thinking there Éire Óg are probably the strongest team in that group, and maybe a shootout between Pierce's B and Kilmore to avoid the relegation playoff.
Yeah, we're on the one page there, Darragh. The first round of the championship, Éire Óg, Fjorty. The weekend, whoever wins that, I think, will top the group, potentially semi-finalists. The loser will still survive. Kilmore relegated. Pádraig Pearse's, it's just hard to know. We'll just say if Pearse's first team had a couple of injuries, it would rob the second team. But if Pearse's second team can survive having most of the players for the first round or two, you see, Kilmore are lucky. I think Kilmore would probably would sooner if they had Pearse's maybe game 3, that Pearse might lose a few players. So, I agree, Darragh. I think the key game there is Pearse's and Kilmore. The loser of that is in trouble. Fjorty will do enough, and Éire Óg are so unlucky the last number of years. There's always one better team than them. Castlereagh a couple of years back, Elphin last year, and this year, of course, you have the two heavyweights, Duxton and Tulse. So for Éire Óg, probably potentially semi-finalists, and then maybe get caught by Tulse or Duxton. But any team with Conor Cox, are decent. So yeah, look at Éire Óg, Fjorty, and probably Pearse's B, and Kilmore probably sucked into another relegation battle.
Yeah, I think Kilmore are the great escape artists. I think they always find a way. Kilmore, it's always a tricky game. So that Kilmore Pearse's game will be very interesting. Group B, Tulsk, Craigs, St. Barry's and St. Michael's. I suppose standout team, you'd have to say, are Tulsk, only down from senior. Craigs, Michael's, I think, are evenly enough match. Craigs had an excellent league, very close to playing senior league football next year. But Craig, St. Michael's, I think St. Michael's are coming. It's a big ask probably on paper for St. Barry's to avoid the relegation playoff. So how are you seeing it? I'd say you're probably along the same lines, are you?
I was sure if Tulse people listen to this podcast, Darragh, and I don't go for Tulse, but I won't be able to go down home anytime during the championship. But no, look this for Tulse, success is winning the championship. They have their neighbours Stokestown. Should be some battle royal if they do meet up. Tulse are Great O'Gara Cup. Relegated last year. We're unlucky to get relegated last year, but really stole a march by getting Lee McNeil to come in. That was a real coup. Tiger Rourke is back. Dylan Gahan. They've got some really good players. Have Tulse. They're a good side, Darren. Make no mistake about it. To me, you have Tulse and Stokestown, two senior teams playing intermediate football. Only one of them is going to make the climb. We'll climb for Patrick. Tulse going to top this group. Craig's Great O'Rourke. What O'Gara Cup by Craig's. Finished above Elphin last year's intermediate champions, and give Castlereagh a really good game, 40 minutes in the playoff. The thing with Craig's is that you just don't know. I'm not sure when the rugby season kicks back in. But if they have everybody on board, Craig's, they should really, I'll be disappointed with Craig's, Darragh, if they don't make a real push to come second in this group, not mess up, and then have a go at a quarter final. They proved they can. but other years they seem to just be happy by surviving. And I always have a mark against the team that's happy just to survive when they might have the talent to go a little bit further. So I'm putting, Craig's faith in Craig's, the Dowd brothers, that some good players Craig's have, to finish second to Tulsk and win and have a good cut to the quarter final. St. Michael's on the new manager, James Martin, St. Bridges, number one is survival, but I think, they've got to aim higher this year because they're a better team than Barry's. So they should finish third in the group. But you mentioned there they could give Craig's a right. They could have a go at Craig's. They'll beat Barry's. They could finish third, Darragh, and in a playoff position. And for Barry's, look, what a night Friday night at home on the lights, Barry against Craig's. Last year's junior champion. I mean, this time last year, nobody would have predicted they'd win the junior championship. Survive is a big, big ask, Darragh. I mean, it's going to be huge for them to survive. It'll be a bigger success story to survive this year than win last year's junior. So Tull's first, Craig second, Michael's third, and Barry's in the survival lottery draw.
Yeah, moving on. Lastly, Group C, Strokestown, Bridges B, Shannon Gales, and Kilbride. I'll say from the outset, I'm a Kilbride man. I'm involved with Kilbride, so I won't be saying that we'll be getting relegated. It's hard to see past Strokestown topping this group, anyways. Strokestown would have been disappointed not to have gone up last year. I suppose after winning the senior championship, what is this, 2 or 3 years ago? 2 years ago, was it? Three.
22.
Yeah.
Free.
They're after tasting senior success. So look, they won't see themselves as an intermediate club. So it'll be interesting to see how they react. So you'd imagine they'll top it, and then you have Bridges B, Shannon Gales, and Kilbride. Shannon Gales again, good league from them. In fairness, they're a solid outfit, and again, a bit like I suppose Pierce's B. You don't know. I suppose the B teams, it's hard to know, who could be lining up for them. So how do you see that group shaping up?
Yeah, I mean, look, no more than Tulsa, the group, Strokestown finished top in that group. Strokestown, champions, then got relegated the following season. Didn't go up last season, bit by Elphin. Very disappointing county final. So Pierce McGinley will be looking for a big, big improvement there. There is murmurs that Cathal Compton could be back. If Cathal Compton is back, then you're talking big, response by Strokestown there. They had the players. Colin Meary was niggly injury with Roscommon. He never got 2 or 3 games in a row, so Strokestown will want him fully fit. But they have the players. Can McGann find the form he had of a few years back? Colin Compton, so they're had some good young underage players the last number of years. The Neary brothers. So look, they're going top the group. Bridges are a strong intermediate team now. Other years up and down like yo-yo, they've held themselves. Shannon Gales and Bridges first day out, marvellous. What a clash. Whoever wins that can finish second in the group. Look at Darragh, I know I can't take sympathy on you because you're the host of the podcast. And look at Kilbride survived last year, Darragh. If he survived last year, he can survive this year. But I think you're going to have to be in the bottom 3 to survive. I can see Kilbride getting the better of Bridges or Shannon Gales. But I suppose, look, you finished the Tansy Cup well, Darragh. Had a good run in it. Last year, you weren't winning games. So, Jimmy's winning matches in Billy Galkle yesterday. Connor is now winning matches with Kilbride. So, and they have some good underage players coming. So, there's no doubt Kilbride, if they can hold themselves the next 12, 18, 24 months, mightn't find themselves in the predicament they're in now. But they'll have watched Aiden's, they'll have watched Crohn's. We know what they're playing this year, Darragh, because we're talking about them next to the Junior Championship. So Kilbride, I want to be careful. And, they're still capable of beating the Bridges or Shannon Gales, Darragh. I don't think it might happen, but they're still capable of doing it. I think Kilbride are lucky first day out to Strokestown. Get the truth out, go to the dentist, get the truth out, and then have a right crack at Shannon Gales and Bridges with nothing to lose over the next 2 games. But first, Strokestown, second Shannon Gales, third Bridges, fourth Kilbride. There I've said it, Darragh, we're in the bad books.
I won't hold it against you. Hopefully I'll be back to you maybe in a month's time after Kilbride avoiding the relegation playoff. So just overall, before we leave the Intermediate Championship, Tulsk and Strokestown. look, the two outstanding ones here, they're neighbours. Are they your two picks for the final?
Yeah, look, unless one of them slips up in the group stages, which, if they do, then they don't deserve to win the Intermediate Championship. That's for a start. Yeah, they fight each other, top the groups, quarterfinal, semi-final. Yeah, outside of that, you'd have to look at maybe Aero catching one of them in a semi-final, quite possibly. That's depending on Aero beating Fury. So, yeah, Strokestown, like Elfin, Strokestown last year, Darragh, they're the two teams, and Aero, for me, that's the Intermediate Championship. I hope Craigs go full tilt at it and maybe get to a quarter-final or semi-final to do themselves justice. Outside of that, it's hard to see anybody. But Bridges B are always capable of causing problems along the group stages. But no, Strokestown, Aero top three, Strokestown county final, and then let mother and father and Hailey Mary of all finals decide the near neighbours who goes up.
It'll be a cracker. It'll definitely be a cracker. Look, we'll briefly look at the junior championship. We won't go through each group because there's a lot of B second teams, and even I think Bridges have a C team this year in it. I suppose, look, I highlighted the contenders. I have Ballinameen highlighted. I have Clonbee, you have to take seriously. Crones, obviously. And now I have St. Aidan's highlighted, but they have been going badly for the last month or two. They took a serious beating off Crones the last day. Now, I think they were missing players. I know it was that to do with hurling commitments with Four Oaths, and they were missing players. But look, Crones laid down the marker there. And I would say Crones won't see themselves as a junior team. Now, probably Aidan's won't either. And probably all these diverse teams won't. But you'd have to make Crones probably favourites.
Oh yeah, Crones are favourites there. I mean, they're some years back they're playing senior championship football, and now they're playing junior championship. So yeah, Crones are favourites. Clan B have been steady the last number of years there. Lost last year's county final to St. Barry's. Disappointing for Clan Gale. They'll be strong. Ballinameen should have beaten Clan last year in the semi-final. Didn't. They got promotion from the Tansy Cup, so they're in good form. Aidan's probably will find it tough, I think. Got badly beaten, burdened by St. Crones, but as you rightly said, they were missing some players there. They're probably the ones. Roscommon Gale's second team, you don't know. Kilglass have gone back a little bit. They had they had a staunch set of footballers that are now probably past winning a junior championship. They'll be back at Harland, probably a quarter finalist at best. Roscommon Gales, you never know. Yeah, Bridges, 3 teams, Darragh. What an incredible story. 3 teams, senior, intermediate, and junior. I mean, junior B winners last year, phenomenal. They have one club in Roscommon in the 3 main championships with a team in each of it. So well done to St. Bridges. Ronald's fairy tale a couple of years ago. After that, Darragh, no, I mean, you could be talking all evening. The simple reality is, to me, it's Crones to lose. If they took their eye off the ball, a Clan B or Ballinameen, they're the top 3. One of them 3 will win it, Darragh, but for me, I don't think St. Crones will lose it. I think Crones will win it, and I think they could win it with a canter.
Yeah, and as I said, and you rightfully said there, St. Crones were a senior club not too long ago, so look, they'll definitely wanting to be getting out of the junior championship. So look, it'll be interesting times ahead. We've a busy weekend ahead, and we might just finish off with maybe your game of the weekend. I think you mentioned Roscommon Gales Boyle. Would that be the game you're looking forward to the most this weekend?
Yeah, it is. It is there. Boyle new manager Eamon O'Hara. How are they going to reinvent themselves after Keane Smith? Mark Dowd now, probably in his second year, last year beaten finalist, got a thumping in the league final. How will they respond? No Mark Healy. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. And both of them will know that the winner will more than likely top the group. So, a key game. And then the other one, I think, Glavies, Western Gales. What a brilliant game last year. And both of them will know, let's not get sucked into a battle with Elfin. Let's win the first day out. Let's throw off the shackles and let's be able to rest easy on Friday night going to bed. So that'll be game 2. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see Eamon O'Hara in the Roscommon Club Championship. O'Hara, managed Tourist Strand to win lots of championships in Sligo. Did the same with Mohall and Leitrim. Now in Boyle, got a lot of good players there. So looking forward to see what O'Hara does with Boyle, and what Mark Dowd, who is being talked about, Darragh, as potentially the one man in-house that could be in the frame for the Roscommon senior job, but just being talked about as an in-house man. I know Noel Dunning and St. David, former county the 20 player, being talked about as well. So, I mean, if you're being talked about, they must do something right. So probably not doubt, probably might feel a bit of pressure as well that he's been talked about as a potential county manager. But, you got to win a club level first.
Willie, look, thanks as always for joining me, and this podcast will be available on YouTube or Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we'll have more from the club championships as the season progresses.